Deconstructing well-written stories is our favorite way to learn about storytelling, and today we're going to be taking what we learn and we're going to be applying it when it comes to creating stories for ourselves. We're going to be looking at Pilar Alessandra's book, The Coffee Break Screenwriter. This is the second edition, and we're going to be using this book to create a basic overview of a original story that we want to make. So just a little bit about this book. This book is basically a workbook where she gives you 10-minute increments to do these exercises, and if you do the exercises by the end of the book, you will have a full screenplay. So she really breaks it down into those 10 minutes, and you should be able to do all of the exercises in 10 minutes. I recommend it. It's a good book, and it has some really good ideas for storytelling and for screenwriting specifically. But today we're going to be using this first exercise and show you how we come up with a premise and characters to fit that premise and a basic outline from start to finish. So for this specific exercise, she gives you the basic layout for a premise when it comes to a story. And the key ingredients of every movie or TV pilot. A movie or pilot is usually about a main character with a problem who engages in an activity with stakes hanging in the balance. That is her example and her basic idea for a story. So that leads us to what this exercise is. 10 minutes, taking that time to come up with a main character and what kind of person he or she is, then your problem, what difficult situation they are put into, then the activity, what does he or she do about it, and then your stakes. Ultimately, what does he or she have to lose? So that is what we're going to be taking. Those four basic question marks or blank spaces that we need to fill in with our own ideas in order to get us from just talking about a subject or an idea and to actually having it on paper. So we're going to start with our main character, and what we like to do is we like to come up with what is our premise, what is our idea, what is the kind of message we're trying to say, what are the two extremes we want to go from. If you know anything about character, when you're coming up with a character, usually you can come up with physical descriptions and things like that, but you generally want to start internally with them. So today I have come up with, and I've really had this idea of cowardice, and how do you show how someone goes from cowardice to potentially courage, and the difficulties with cowardice and courage, and how they can be there can be a fine line between the two of them, because it is with us here, we like to craft more nuanced stories, and getting into the fine line between being overtly courageous or recklessly courageous and being a coward can be it's a very fine line there. So with our main character, they are a coward, and so what is the worst place that you can put a coward? The problem, the difficult situation that we're going to be putting them in is they have to be most likely a military person, because cowards are usually that archetype or that trait is really amplified when they are faced with life and death situations, right? So we're going to be putting them in a military situation, but not just any military situation, but we're going to pair them with a commanding officer that is recklessly courageous. So you have your main character who is a coward in the military, and we're going to pair them with a pseudo antagonist, I guess you can call them antagonist, who is recklessly courageous. So you have the two extremes there of characters who will complement each other in such a way that will hopefully be the most dramatic it can possibly be. So we have our first two elements done there. We're moving on towards the latter half, the activity, what do they do about the situation, and then our stakes, what is obviously at stake for them. And so in order for us to make a story that is cohesive and is all connected, we would like for all four of these elements to be constructed in a way that they are the most dramatic, right? So the activity that they're going to do about it is they're going to try to get out of whatever mission that their commanding officer has volunteered for. If this is a suicide mission or practical suicide mission, then they are going to try to do everything in their possible power to escape or to survive. And when you put your character in a situation where their life is on the line, it's always great because death is the ultimate stake, right? But also like reputation, and so it could later on down the line we could construct this character in such a way where their cowardice is kind of perceived as courage, and that would be a great dramatic kind of irony there, where what this person has done in the past and what they do on this mission can, in his own mind and for his own purposes, would be cowardly and for him to try to escape the situation. However, for some reason, his fellow soldiers and even his commanding officer can like catch him doing something or find him doing something, and then he would kind of lie his way out of it and lie his way into making them believe that what he is doing is actually like furthering the mission and being courageous, right? So we can further that idea of dramatic irony by having our character be kind of trying to save face every time they are caught, or every time they are like almost caught trying to desert the unit and trying to leave or trying to survive when that's not really the goal of the mission. And then our stakes, like I said, we want to connect that. So if our character like cares about how other people perceive them, then we can really put them in a situation to where the rest of the military would know, right? If this character survived, or if this character escaped and the rest of his unit died, or if they failed the mission, it would most likely be at his fault, and so his reputation within the military would be lessened, right? And then also you have his life is at stake here. So we would put him, essentially, we'll use death in this example. We'll give him two deaths that can possibly happen: his military death and like his reputational death, and then also his actual death. So give him two fronts on which he is trying to survive, right? He's trying to survive and keep his military status alive because this is his life, right? Or her life. And then you have them try to stay alive, literally. So that's it. Literally, that is the 10 minutes that we take here. I didn't spend a lot of time beforehand kind of formulating these ideas in my head because I wanted it to be very practical, and I wanted to show you that you can come up with good storytelling and good ideas for stories in the amount of time that she's giving you. And I do really like this idea for a book, because I do think that if you're a writer, you will find the time, and even if that time is only 10 minutes, you can put that 10 minutes to good use and start to formulate your ideas. You don't have to write the entire thing in a day, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. But just to go over our four elements really quickly, we have our main character, who is a coward, and then you have the problem that the difficult situation they're put in. They have a new commanding officer who is recklessly courageous, so we have that dichotomy of two opposites who are going to be in conflict together. and they're going to be, presumably taking on a suicide mission or a very difficult mission because the commanding officer is recklessly courageous. And then you have your activity. What does our main character do about this problem? They're going to try to escape. They're going to try to save face, not only literally by keeping their face intact, but also by keeping their military status and their military reputation intact as well. And that would be our stakes. So that leads into our fourth element, which is our stakes, life and our military status and our perceived kind of patriotism and gung-ho-ness. And so once we've gotten all that, like, you can see how that snowball can kind of start going, where once you come up with your idea and you have connected elements in your main big blanks that you have to fill in, that way you can kind of start formulating the more detailed stuff. But you want to start with your overview, right? You want to start with your big things that are going to be the most important. And if those things don't really line up, if they are not synced up, if they are not giving you the most dramatic possible story, then that's where you need to continue to formulate those ideas and really ask yourself those questions of, is this the perfect kind of unity of opposites where they will be in the most conflict with each other when it comes to your main character and your problem and things like that. So that is your basic overview. You can see how in a short amount of time you can kind of start to formulate an idea. One of the things I wanted to say was that in this day and age, we are definitely trying to be more subtle and more talk about more the issues that can come about within any story. You want to try to have a deeper meaning. So going further, if we never get to it, we never get to it. But it would be, I think it would be interesting to for this film to specifically kind of shine a light on the idea of it can be bad both ways. You can be a coward, you can be recklessly courageous, and you can effectively hurt the people around you, and how those two things can really be perceived as something very similar, and how we have to really take a look at what people are doing in these situations, and to make sure that we are not giving credit to people who are actually kind of not doing the best in these situations and not being the most level-headed when it comes to military, and especially military operations in general, right? You would hope that your military would be very level-headed and very analytical and logical in what they do, and sometimes they are not. But that's kind of that's the deeper thing I would want this story to get into. Again, might not ever get to that, but that's just wanted to give you a little bit extra there. But like I said, hopefully you can see how we process things and how we kind of start that ball rolling, and how you can use a really cool idea for a book, The Coffee Break Screenwriter by Pilar Alessandra, to start your dream. As if you have an idea, you can pick up a book like this or pick up a book like Save the Cat, and you can see how these books can help you kind of get on that path. I do like the fact that this one feels very much like a workbook, and I think that would be really, it'd be really cool, kind of taking you back to that school thing of like, oh, there's a blank to fill in here, and then you can write in the book if you do that. But yeah, so that is our video for today. I hope you get some inspiration and can. I think that this book is definitely worth a buy. If nothing else, then to, if you can go through it and do the exercises and say that you've completed a full-length feature film script, would be a really cool thing. And only 10-minute increments is pretty cool. Anyway, that's our video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep writing.